Salam viewers, this is your host Muhammad Ali Haider and you're watching your very own career quest where dreams meet direction. They say that communication is the art of leadership because communication is not just about speaking or uttering what you have to, it's more about saying the right thing at the right time. Today, we'll talk about interview, how impactful one interview can be in one's career, and most importantly, what are the essential ingredients required to be excellent at your interview. For that, we have with us today Mr. Khawaja Yasin Mudassir, who happens to be an educationist as well as been training and mentoring a lot of youth in our society with regards to interview and how to present yourself in a particular interview. Thank you so much, Khawaja sir, for being with us today.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for inviting.
Before we formally begin with our discussion, let's give a look to this report.
The final stage of any competitive examination, the interview, is more than just a formality. It's your moment to shine. This is where knowledge meets personality and confidence become your greatest strength. A well-prepared interview can set your path, turning your years of hard work into success. In Pakistan, thousands of aspirants dream of cracking prestigious exams like CSS, PMS, and PCS. The key to mastering this final hurdle lies in self-awareness, current affairs knowledge, clarity of thoughts, and strong communication skills. Programs, mock interviews, and coaching sessions are now empowering our youth to present themselves effectively. This isn't just about answering questions. It's about telling your story, sharing your vision, and proving you're ready to lead. With the right guidance and preparation, you can walk into the room with confidence and walk out with your future secured.
Welcome back from the report. Khawaja Sahab, to begin with our discussion, what is the most essential element for somebody who's presenting himself in an interview?
So, it is rightly said, the first impression is the last impression.
All right.
So, what the first impression is for the panelist, that is what matters the most. Like when we teach candidates or students for the interview skills, the first thing is their attire, the way they are dressed, the color that they're wearing, the suit that they're wearing, then the way they enter the room, then the way the salutations are made, the way they sit in the seat. So it all starts from the moment the door opens. And after that, obviously, it's all about the questions being asked and the way the answers are being delivered. So in an interview, if I have to talk about presenting oneself, it's merely initially the presentation and then the way you give your answers. Whatever the mode of communication it is, be it Urdu, be it English, it's about your grasp on that particular knowledge.
All right.
And that matters a lot here.
So what really is an interview? Can you just define us an interview? Because there are a lot of perceptions regarding interview. Maybe it's just a question answer session, or maybe it's more of a discussion for the one who's presenting himself.
That's a very valid question to ask actually. If I easily summarize what interview is, it's a filtration process. Because it's very easy from different candidates, a good number of people, to pass an exam, to apply for a job. But the interview gives a panelist, interview gives a company a better view to look at the candidate and know the candidate. Like if he or she is the same person that he or she has written in the resume, if they actually possess the qualities that they're talking about, they can ask you different questions. Questions regarding your personality, questions regarding your skill set, questions regarding your degree, or maybe just to know about your emotional intelligence. They can pester you with different sorts of random questions just to see how you tackle those questions and how you tackle those harsh questions, because that is what exactly they want to see in a candidate. Like how can they withstand different types of questions, different types of atmospheres during their work life. So that is how it should be, and it is being done everywhere.
So is it the interviewer who's at the driving seat, or is it the interviewee who's at the driving seat?
If you're talking about the driving seat, the ignition is done by the panelist. But after that, the steering and is in the hand of the one who is giving the interview. We call the answers for such questions, we always say that your answer should be a leading one. Like when you are giving an answer, you have to give it the answer in such a structure, and you have to throw those breadcrumbs for the panelists to pick. So so that you direct the interview.
So you have to give them the dots to
Yes.
connect.
Dots to connect, and also you have to give the panelists their next answer. Because if I'm a panelist, I can ask you anything in the world, whatever comes to my mind. But if you talk about a particular thing, you just mention it, I will be bound to ask you about that particular thing. And those types of answers are the ones that we call leading answers. So that is where you can drive the interview rather than the panelist doing so. Because if a panelist has to come up with questions, there is all the knowledge under the sky. They can ask you anything in the world. But if you're driving, you're smart enough, you can take the car in your direction.
Okay, so what is the first step one should take to prepare for an interview?
First step, it's about knowing yourself. Where do you stand? What are your qualities? What are your weaknesses?
So it's not more about pretending somebody else?
Never.
All right.
That I would like to talk about that very well, because there are many videos on internet. We live in a digital world where we get to see that how that interview is going to be. Like I have been training candidates for the civil services interviews from the last 5 years. And we see on internet, on social media, different mock interviews, different interviews. So what the students do, what the candidates do, they love to imitate them. They love to copy their posture. They're like, we have to sit this way because I saw that particular person sitting this way and he was qualified. Okay, I'm going to add these particular words in my answer because he or she was doing so. So that is where you lose your originality. You have to come up with your ways of giving an answer. Don't try to be like someone else because they want you in that position. They don't want that someone else in that particular position. So you need to sell yourself. You need to tell them that, yes, sir, this is my weakness, but that will not affect my job.
But
this is my strength.
But don't you think being too truthful would cost them a lot?
Oh, yes, but then you need to scrutinize.
All right.
Like if we are talking about any particular job, if it's a job for a police officer, he or she cannot say that my weakness is that I sleep a lot. My weakness is that I cannot say no to my people. These types of weakness definitely can jeopardize your job. When we talk about weaknesses, they can easily mention that, for example, I do a lot of gaming. Like gaming has no harm. On the other hand, it polishes someone's skills. It makes you more aware. Your body, your motions, they are more coordinated if you're a gamer. But then you can also call it a weakness. And though it is not a weakness, but then you can say, obviously, I do give it a lot of time, so I will be controlling that. So safer weaknesses are the better way to present in an interview.
Talking about dressing sense, it's a huge issue among students.
Definitely.
So how do you address that?
There are two things. If you are going to follow the traditional dressing, which is shalwar kameez, then you need to go with a waistcoat.
All right.
You need to go with either the sandals, which is the Peshawari one, or preferably boots.
All right.
And obviously with suits, we ask them to go for a two-piece suit, not a three-piece suit, because those ones are more suitable for a wedding.
True.
But this is something, I believe it is known to all. But how do we make it better for them? It looks too fancy for candidates to wear lapel pins, to wear a good fancy pocket square, to have good cufflinks in their cuffs. We strictly ask them not to do so. And nowadays, we see different types of clothing material, suit material, which is a little shiny, which is a very good choice for a wedding, but not for an interview. Because your suit tends to be a distraction for the panelist. If you're wearing shalwar kameez, there shouldn't be embroidery on it. Because then again, I would love to look at your face rather than the pattern of your embroidery, rather than the shine or your lapel pin. So what we ask them to do is, for men, it's a very easy thing actually, that we're only left with a few colors. Grays, browns, blues. These are the things that we need to tell them about their shirt, yes, their ties. They should have a good color of contrast, but not the ones with pattern.
Most of the times ties are also a huge problem, because there are a lot of colors there as well.
Oh yeah. So sometimes we have to spoon feed everything, and that's why we ask them to come for mock interviews in the dress that they're going to wear for the interviews. For women, that becomes easier.
All right.
Wearing Eastern, looking decent, because there is no defined dress for women. They can also go in suits. They can also go in ethnic. They can have a dupatta on their heads and they can choose not to. So for them, it's on easier side.
All right.
Look decent. But for men, we have to follow the colonial rule.
All right.
Yeah.
So how do we prepare the content for the interview? Like, you just said that one has to be truthful to himself.
Yeah.
But with that, obviously, you need to have something to present. So how do we prepare that presentable content?
The first thing that your content needs to have, it's cohesion.
All right.
I cannot, if I'm talking to you about the cohesion of the content, I cannot start talking about movies from here. There needs to be a linkage in my answers. But regarding the particularity of the content, obviously, if you're applying for a particular job, be it the job for an engineer, then you need to have a good preparation of the engineering topics. If it is for a medical job, you need to have a good grasp on that skill set on the topics of biological sciences. But if it's a civil services exam, every topic is there under discussion. Be it the geopolitical issues.
It can go in any direction.
Any religious issues, global issues, specific subject-based topics, or even they can just ask you about on what date was Czechoslovakia liberated. They are sure that you don't know the answer. But they need to see your body language, the way you receive an answer, the way you say no to that. In a respect, or are you getting jittery? So even if you don't know an answer in an interview.
So it's more about how you take the challenge.
Yes, emotional intelligence.
All right.
It is not just an IQ-based thing. If you are sitting there, you cannot know everything in the world. It is, maybe it's only ChatGPT which does that. A human is there to skip many topics of discussion. But at the end of the day, it is for you to respectfully say no to those questions. Respectfully tell them that, my apologies, sir, I don't know much about that issue. So you cordially do that. Your face expression shouldn't go all in shock. Rather, you say smile, you smile. I always tell my students that even if you know an answer, back in your mind, you still have a confusion that, am I saying the right thing? But your most confident answer in an interview is the one that you don't know anything about. That should be your most confident answer.
All right.
My apologies, sir, I don't know anything about that issue. Smile. Smile away. It takes some time. But after practicing for 4 or 5 days, I see my candidates, my students, being very confident in the answers.
So there are certain candidates who are very good with the writing stuff, with the exams and all. They score very well with that, but they badly collapse during the interview, and that's mostly at times because of the confidence that is required to face the panel. How do we work on that, the element of confidence to face the panel?
That actually is one of the most common thing faced during any competitive exam. Candidates can score really well. But then one major flaw that we unfortunately see in our country is the educational background. They haven't been exposed to the world. So how do we start with such candidates? We put aside all the interview material for some time and we just start on their public speaking abilities. Like, I've been a debater myself, so I know I've trained many debaters, so I know how to work on their confidence initially.
All right.
One thing that I always tell them, that remember one thing, the person sitting right in front of you asking a question, I ask them, which species, which biological species do they belong to? Like, obviously they're humans. So I always ask them, then why to fear them? Find them, don't be that casual, but if you can talk in front of your family, if you can talk in front of your friends, why cannot you talk in front of those people? One very common misconception among the candidates, sir, my apologies, I cannot speak in English. It's a very common, and I use the word misconception. Someone who has written essays in 12 exams,
True.
they know the language. They very well know the language.
It's just about the practice.
The practice. In an interview, it's the most I would say, childish thing from a trainer to ask them to change their dialect, to change their accent, because in a month you can't do that.
Some people love to do that.
That's the worst thing. You will leave them at a place that rather than focusing on the answer, they will be focusing on their pronunciation.
True.
So at that point, it is for them to believe in their self first, because they get intimidated very well. And our system is not that harsh actually.
All right.
That, okay, if someone is from a rural background and he or she does not have a good grasp of the English language, and that candidate would be rejected. Actually, no. They don't see that. They want to see you as a package. How you can handle stress, how you can give the answers, how confident are you, be it whichever dialect you are talking in, whatever your pronunciation is. Yes, there are some words on which we do work, but then mostly if there is a month or two left, we don't ask them to do that, because that can ruin their interview.
So how long does it take for one good candidate to prepare for the interview?
Regarding the content, if you have read all of it before, it's all about revising at the end of the day.
Because if somebody has cleared the exams, clearly he knows a lot.
Exactly. But a common thing which all the candidates do, like the way the civil services system in Pakistan works, we have here our exams in February, and in the November of or October or September of that month, the result is there. You only get 2 months or sometimes less than a month for the interviews.
All right.
It is common with all the candidates that after that February, they stop studying. They're like, we're done with it, we don't want to study it anymore. But then again, revising something is always easy. But then you only studied for those 6-7 subjects.
True.
Now you have to study for all the subjects. So 1 to 1.5 months is ample for a 10 on 10 preparation, content-wise. Because you cannot know everything, but whatever you know, you should be confident about that.
All right.
Then you can literally do the best in the interview.
So this fraternity that helps you or guides you to prepare for the civil services has more of turned into an industry now.
Oh yes.
And there are a lot of institutions offering mock interviews. Which is the right institution to choose for mock interviews? Like, how can we define the right institution for ourselves to differentiate among them? A. Number two, what is the method of choosing mock interviews? Are they necessary or are they not? How many mock interviews one should give if they are necessary?
Okay. For the mock interviews, they are definitely necessary. You need to put yourself on the field. You need to throw yourself on the field. And obviously, in your mind, you know that this is not the panel that will be interviewing me. But then again, maybe you get the 80% of the experience. That's a lot. And definitely, that's an industry. The moment the interviews are closer, we see ads everywhere.
Very true.
And all the institutions are selling themselves. So how many mock interviews are good? It varies from candidate to candidate.
All right.
It depends on your preparation. It depends on whoever is sitting there. If you have to, preferably choose a panel. It's actually not the institution. It's actually the panel that you have to choose.
All right.
Try to choose the ones which already has bureaucrats. And which ones? The older ones, the aged ones, the retired ones. Why? Because you will be facing the same age group with the same experience. Maybe the minds, the ideas
might differ.
No, they might match with two different.
So there is a chance.
There is a chance. Not all of it. But then again, if you are giving a mock interview to a person who is maybe 5 or 10 years older to you, definitely experienced. No experience is a bad experience. So that too is a good one, but not the preferable one. And how many mock interviews and from where? Wherever you can, I would say. Because if giving 2 or 3 more mock interviews can make you further more confident about yourself,
then why not?
Why not? Do not take any chance. This is a competitive exam. So everyone's competing. Everyone is using all the ways. I have from the after COVID, we are having online students as well.
All right.
Students from Karachi, Peshawar, female candidates, male candidates, different villages. So they experience that. So it is all about the experience. So how many mock interviews do you want? As many as you can.
All right. Mr. Yasin, I'd like to know that, as far as the preparation is concerned, is it supposed to be more bookish, or one is supposed to be in a company of some, some intellectuals, or maybe, some good people who can, help him be learned enough to face the panel? Because, there are a lot of misconceptions, and one is that maybe you need to have read a lot of books, and there is this another chunk who believes that you shouldn't be more into books but more into people.
You need to have read a few books. That's ample. If you want to study more, read more, that's perfect. But man is a social animal. If the human interaction wasn't important, we can just give books to a student in grade 4 and we can ask him or her to just shut his doors for the world and become a doctor. No, you cannot.
All right.
You need to interact, you need to learn. And books can only give you an idea in one way. Maybe you will be able to absorb it, maybe you won't. But if you meet 5 people, all of them have a different way of expressing a thought, expressing an idea, then it is your mind who has to pinpoint whatever impresses you on a particular topic. The discussions, the political discussions, the religious discussions, if done in a very composed way, you learn the most out of it. You get different point of views, and that I won't say that it just adds to my knowledge. It shapes my point of view as well.
All right.
Shaping of point of view is something which is the most needed part in an interview, rather than just adding facts from books in this particular year, this particular human being. If you present an idea in a very catchy way, because obviously, as I was saying, that even the panelist is a human being. So if you as a human being loved a particular idea, so obviously they would love it too.
True.
So the human being in a circle, that polishes you for life. It polishes the human for the whole life, not just for an interview.
Mr. Yasin, as we are concluding our show, your final thoughts for our youth and specifically for the contestants of the interviews?
Well, talking about the interview and the CSS or the PMS exams or any particular interviews, staying in Pakistan, this is what a job which gives you all 3 P's: power, property, and prestige.
True.
And we human beings, we love prestige. We love to be in a position where everyone loves us.
True.
So if your government, your country, your state is giving you that opportunity every year, you need to take it. I ask everyone to at least prepare for those exams. It is your right to appear in those exams. It is your right to contest for those positions. So take that right of yours. It's your constitutional right. And if you can be a part of that system, if you can be a part of that machinery, then maybe you are the one who can bring a change to this country.
True.
We can be, this youth, this particular youth is more enlightened. We have seen a lot happening around us, and we know what the people around us want. So if we are a part of the system, we can definitely do a lot for this country in the best way possible.
Khawaja Sahib, your point is noted. With that, we end our today's discussion. Thank you so much, Khawaja Yasin, for being with us today. As we conclude our program, and as we have learned a lot from Khawaja Yasin today, what's the most important element that has hit my brain is that your process of learning shouldn't stop. No matter whatever you have achieved in your life, no matter how hard it was for you, and no matter in what state you are in, till your last breath, what should remain consistent is the process of learning. This is your host, Muhammad Ali Haider, signing off. Till next time, Allah Hafiz.